how can we live our lives despite all the horrible stuff that's going on in the world? How can we, when people are dying, when there's so much injustice, when there's news happening all the time, how can we pay attention to the good stuff or build something great when so much is against us, so much is happening that's terrible? And I know I've fallen into this trap many times, and I have in the last few months. In the past few months, not necessarily, yeah, my entertainment time, my extra time has been spent, uh, delving into or just paying attention to the things that are going wrong, the injustices, the, the terrible issues, the things that are happening. And what I want to say is obviously what my book is about that came out some months ago, and the resurgence of energy, it took so much energy to get it out, and I have so many projects in the queue and so many things happening right now that I just couldn't have the momentum. And part of what threw me off was this paying attention to where the sky is falling on people, where the terrible things are happening, who is responsible, and somewhat just a little bit of what we can do about it. But I know that what we can do about it, that it's always this way. The sky is always falling on someone, and it will on you and me someday. But what we do with what we have is what we can create in the future. We don't have access to, you might not be the one who's feels like you make the difference, but you make a difference. You make a difference to you. What you do radiates onto other people. You've heard it all. But this is what I really want to get to. One is that the forces of good, the people, the decisions, the things that are being done to make this world better, to build a better world. People are out there every second of every day, all around this globe, working for the best world possible. But unfortunately, that a lot of people are making a lot of poor decisions about themselves, about others, and about the planet as a whole. And it takes each individual person bringing themselves to a more conscious place. Like, to get a more conscious world, we each need to do those steps, and we can't bypass it. Technology is not going to help us bypass the amazing future that we could create, and it's not going to bypass, yes, technology has helped us to fast track a bit. It's helped us to get more views, more able to progress faster. But are we? Some people that have the resources, that have the time, that have the focus, that have the teachers, they may be fast tracking their evolution or their expansion of consciousness. But in general, in this world, the technology is bringing people disinformation, entertainment, and blocking their ability to communicate with others, their ability to think for themselves, their ability to feel for themselves, and just be in reality. So instead of even though we have more access to communication and more access to amazingness and more access to be able to become something amazing, people aren't taking advantage of that. Instead, they're being bogged down by all the systems, they're being caught by all the distractions, and they're just not pursuing these big things. And they're believing that they make less of a difference in the world when that couldn't be further from the truth. Your ability to make change in this world, in other people, and make movements happen is great. So I believe that this world we've created of this stuff and this consciousness of understanding how to be mutually helpful and work in cooperations and be in societies, that is growing. And of course, people are starting at the bottom. So some people are climbing that ladder to the top of understanding and relating and being in this big picture future that's utopian. And I think that it's a blend of sort of capitalist and socialist, though those words are just ridiculous now. But the We need individualism and individual freedom, and we need collectivism and collective, the fabric of society is not made up of individual little things. It's the connection. So it's both the independence and the cooperation. That is what needs to be done in our own lives. You need to be able to feed yourself and help yourself, and then feed and help other people, just like people fed and helped you to help you get to where you are now. Just like you were a baby, you were naive, you've grown to where you are now. And now, what's next is up to you and up to your climbing, up to your focus, intention, dreams, follow through, and everything that makes you you. Negativity or positivity. I've talked in lots of other videos on how it's like looking down and back at what's wrong and what's to blame, and that's the easiest split second we are made to run towards pleasure and away from fear, but we're also made to look at the fearful thing, at the terrible thing, and I'm not telling you not to do that, but it only takes a little bit of looking at the negative to know that something needs to be done. And to do something about it, that's where you should be spending your time, working on becoming, creating a world inside and outside that reflects that hopeful, helpful creation that we all can engage in. That's why we're here right now. We're only here in this planet. We only have the beautiful things we have, the technology, this phone, these like crazy technology things that I have surrounding myself that make my life easier and more fun. I only have that because of all the people that worked and created and maintained and brought that forward. They brought that forward. Same with the peace and prosperity that we have is because of the people who've been tirelessly working, because of people who died for freedoms, because of the people who lived for freedoms, because of the creation and all of that impact that people put in. That goodness, the greatness, the consciousness that we have, so much of it is borrowed or taken on the backs of our ancestors and our fellow people, the fabric of society that is around you, what it takes to make sure that there is plumbing and, water and electricity, and that people, drive within the lines. Like most people do it. Most people do what they want, what they, I don't want to say are supposed to do, but most people are good and follow in, how many billions of cars are going down the roads right now. And the fact that hardly any, 1 out of a billion, 1 out of every huge number does this, and causes a huge accident. Like most people, most of the time, are driving between the lines, are talking with people, are creating connections and really want that. But it only takes a little bit of negativity. As I like to say, how much does it take to build a house? How many people, how many resources, how much stuff does it take to build a house? A lot. The coordination and the land and the resources that come from all kinds of places, all the people, and then the plumbing, the foundation, all the pieces. But yet, what does it take? Just one match put in the right place, and that's gone, right? Negativity is so powerful, and in the smallest instances, you can ruin everything, right? You cut vegetables your whole life, but if you do this with a knife, like that may change your life forever, right? Like we're right here on the precipice of negativity, chaos, bad things happening, but yet we are creating more and more and more. We're creating a more utopian world. We're creating a more perfect life. Easy for me to say it, somebody who's privileged in lots of ways, but I know, have talked from talking to so many people and living so long, that negativity is right there. Everything that's terrible and the sky falling and the world being the worst thing ever is right there. And I'm just coming out of a trap of not negativity in my own life. I'm still staying really positive, but instead of doing that middle ground work, good work that needs to be done, I found myself listening to and being entertained by the shit that's going on in the world right now, and then doing my own great work in my family, in my life, in my businesses, with my friends, and not even talking about it and not even sharing about it. And that's what I find myself in, that place that's so easy to do, to not create that better world, because you're like, oh, I'm doing this big thing, or I'm doing this, or we're so trapped inside our own things. And what really instigated the video today was that trap of negativity, feeling the futility, the feeling that you can't do anything, that I can't do anything, the feeling that the world won't change, the feeling that there's so much bad out there that I need to take care of, that I need to listen to and pay attention to, that there are so many wrongs out there that I need to right, and I'm not even sure how to do that because it feels stifling. I'm sure you've felt this way at some points too. I'm sure that you've had some times in your life where you were like, what is the point? Or this world is so negative, or look at how much is set against us on this planet, in this society. It's so easy to fall into that trap. But the real beauty is what we can create, is what does work. And what works builds on each other. Every relationship, every time you go out and just venture out a little further, when you venture out with a good attitude and connection and the feeling of luck and the feeling of success, it grows, it expands. The amount of people that you can affect, that you can connect with, the amount of yourself that you can grow, it only takes a little bit at a time of the right energy to be created. Now, if you have these big visions, these big goals, like I talk about in my book, right up there, that ball is the big goal. And what it takes to get there, to remember that the journey is slow and painstaking at first, but it ramps up. And there are shortcuts, like your attitude, like your resources, like your relationships, and like your focus, focusing on that goal and moving yourself up to that, knowing, keeping that in your mind. So I've been great at going to the gym lately, just going most every day and working out hard, but in my own workouts and fun workouts and things like that. And what has got me there is a bigger, new, shiny goal. Like, I basically took my goal and brought it out and shined it up and made sure that it looked all awesome. So I'm like, this is what I want to look like. This is what I want to feel like. This is what my mornings look like. This is, who I am, getting a third person view. And that's the same thing as this, what I'm talking about as a whole. The news, the media, the sky is always falling on someone at some time. And there are terrible injustices going on in the world that we should be fixing and helping and pushing against the negativity and the the war and the violence and the lawlessness. But we can push back in a proactive way. And this is the same with kids. When you hit them, shout at them, whatever, react to them, it doesn't really help. Reacting, judging, shaming, blaming doesn't really work. It doesn't work for the person delivering it, and it doesn't work for the person receiving it. But what does work is proactive, creating solutions and implementing solutions that actually work. And sometimes that's about making up a story, a joke, and sometimes it's about creating a law or a movement or some kind of energy that pushes back against that chaos and lawlessness and badness that's there. So what I'm saying is, how much of the time is your life actually in danger? Are you actually at the, should you actually be suffering or feeling negative or like you're under attack? How often is your life actually under attack versus how often you feel like that because of the stories you take in, because of the ideas that roll through your head, because of the media that you take in, or the people who are in your lives? Because I guarantee you that most of the negativity that's going through you, most of the stories are being fed from someone else and not your own, and not actually your experience. Build your experience to be beautiful, helpful, creative, and something that makes the world, that changes the world and that makes it better. That's what I'm saying. We can do that. That's what I'm working on. And part of that is to go live more often, to make more videos more often, and to build and create solution-oriented things. I have an amazing friend who's doing incredible charitable work right now and taking some of the things that are so negative that are going on in the news you see right now, and they're turning it into helping people, lifting people up, creating, making their lives better. People who are under attack, this person is doing everything proactive and loving to create a better world, not to fight back against the negativity or create something negative against the negativity, but the response is positive, proactive, solution-oriented, creative, fun, enjoyable, deep, and really, really helpful. And that's what it is. Right now, you can do things to make your world and the world better. Or you can just be entertained by what's not working. And that doesn't help. Being informed about negativity isn't really helping any of us. So I invite you to be positive, to think positively, and to build the positive, because that's the solution to our problems, is the solution to our problems. More solutions, less problems. Thanks.